I want to do three things tonight. One is regarding the second group project. I wanted to uh, tell you how to kind of get an idea as to whether your states and events are reasonably correct. That is one thing. Second thing is some of you noted that the drawing program is not working very well in Windows. So I wanted to explain that. And the third thing is I wanted to give you some more insight into the drawing program code, because that is important for your final exam or your third exam, I should say, and as well as for tonight's class exercise. So let's get started with the issue of kind of seeing whether your states and events and the transitions are correct. How would you tell? Of course, one could give a short answer saying if you got it right, you would know, but that is not going to be enough. You need something more. How would you actually do something that will kind of tell you, oh, I might want to make a change here, etc. So
When you
let-
one thing is like when you first taught us, there it was like a condensed version, like if you had duplicate states or something.
right, yeah, duplicate states don't really harm you, but they just bloat the code. One thing I noted when I saw the events for some group was that the events were not atomic. They were combining multiple things. That would be very hard to program. An event doesn't last. It is very instantaneous. You push a key and that's it. There is nothing more. I mean, it doesn't really, you can't usually combine it with another event, and or you might be able to, but it is going to be very messy. So if you are thinking of two keystrokes that are, or two actions that are coming one after the other, you might want to treat them individually rather than in unison. That is one thing, but that is not the central point I wanted to make. The maybe I will probably look at I need something to refer to, some state transition table. So let me go ahead and see if I can grab the one in the book. So let me go there. Mm, Give me a minute. Oops. Okay. All right. If you look at this state transition diagram, transition table just works just as well, but it is kind of in the landscape mode in this document, and I'm not sure that I am able to rotate it in the browser. So I'm going to use the state transition diagram. Suppose I came up with some state transition diagram for some problem. So maybe you want to take your second group project. What you should do is this. Imagine the system being in some state, For example, we could imagine here that the system is in cooking stage. And then what you need to do is come up with a sequence of events. That is your test case. So imagine you are pressing, say, the cook button, you're pressing the open door button, there followed by the timer ticking, etc., etc. So you can just arbitrarily choose a sequence of events and then do two things. One is, if those events occurred, what would you expect the system to do? That is something you can figure out by reading the problem handout, looking at the problem. The second thing is, where would your state transition diagram or table would take you? For example, if I am in the cooking state, suppose I pressed cook again, then cook followed by door open and then door close, and timer ticked few times. That I'm just imagining an arbitrary sequence of events. What should happen? I mean, if I pressed the door open, it should actually stop. I mean, if I press cook again, it should add 1 minute, and then it should still be cooking. And if I open the door, then it should actually end cooking. And if I close the door, then it should go back to the microwave should be having the door closed. And then if the timer ticked a couple of times, there shouldn't be any change. It should still be door closed. So what I do is, okay, is this transition diagram right? So I am in the cooking state. And if I pressed the cook button, oops, I'm trying to shoot. I'm trying to make it a little larger, and it didn't work out all that well, or it isn't working out all that. I'm sorry, because I have trouble viewing this myself. So
You might need to download it and then view it as a PDF.
yeah, that would be better. Sometimes I try to save time, and I actually end up spending more time. And let me see if I have a copy on my machine here. Yeah, and I don't have a PDF viewer of the traditional kind. Let me see if I can download this then. That's easier, probably. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the suggestion. So I am in the cooking state. If I pressed the cook button, oh, actually I'm going to stay in the cooking state, so that looks right. And if I open the door, I would go to the interrupted state. And if I closed it, the door would be closed. So everything works out so far. And if the timer ticked, yeah, the clock ticked, I'll be staying here. So things are correct. I know that this state transition diagram is correct, but this is how you should actually test out. I mean, you can come up with lots and lots of sequences. There is no end to it, right? There is an infinite number of sequences. So keep doing it for a lot of these. And if you have mistakes, you will find them. You should match your expectations against what is provided by the diagram. And that is probably a very good way of checking that your table is correct. Okay. And remember that you should take events atomically. Don't try to combine two things that are distinct. For example, if you press the cook button and the door open button, then they are separate events. So you should first handle the cook button press and then only handle the door open event. Similarly, in the second group project, for example, if you are getting some button presses or whatever, don't combine them. Then you will have a messy thing to deal with. And remember, there is always a context to keep track of some of the extra stuff if you need. All right. Any questions? Okay. Then let's go to the second issue that I wanted to talk about, and that is the difficulty with Windows as far as this drawing program is concerned. I don't have a Windows machine here at this point, but I checked on a Windows machine as to what was going wrong. And I will tell you what is making it not working for certain things and what a fix would be. All right. There are at least two situations where the drawing program misbehaves. The one is when you draw a polygon. Of course, this is a Mac and it works correctly. So I click, 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 and now I hit the Enter key. I'm going to press it now, and it completes the polygon. This doesn't happen on Windows. Similarly, if I press label, I can write all kinds of things, then click here, type in some characters, click here, type in more characters, and I hit the return key or enter key, the whole thing ends. These two things don't work in Windows. It didn't work for some of you. It didn't work for me when I tried it on a Windows machine. And if you notice carefully, when you press the return key on Windows, you will see that the return is actually going to the buttons. It is the buttons that are the focus of the enter key pressings. So when I pressed the enter key, what happened was on Windows, these buttons would kind of flicker, saying it was that button that was selected that was getting the focus. Then I read about it in Java documentation, and they didn't have anything clear about it. They said the focus of the events can be dependent on the system, and there is no uniformity across the different platforms as to who should be given the focus for a certain event. As far as I could see, almost every event that I tried had the canvas get the focus. But when I pressed enter, the event was delivered to the buttons. on Windows, but that is not the case in Mac. I don't know what happens in Linux or some other platform. So there is a very dirty way of fixing it. I don't like it, but then there is a far more elaborate scheme, and I don't even, I haven't even begun understanding it, and I'm not sure that I have the time to go through all those things just for the sake. The dirty way of doing it is, which seems to work, is that when you click on polygon, for example, where an enter key would be coming into play at some point in time, when you get this event, when you get that polygon clicked event, you can request that this part of the screen be given the focus. So there is something called request focus, which is a JavaFX call, and you can have the drawing panel. This is the drawing panel. Request that the focus be given to itself, or you can have this event tell JavaFX that this drawing panel be given the focus. But that is a very non-cohesive way of doing things, and unnecessary, it introduces unnecessary coupling as well. In the event polygon request event or whatever that is, in that event, when you, in the handle method, you can say that the drawing panel be given the focus. That is not a good way of designing things. Why should the polygon know, why should this actually, yeah, it could be the button or the event. Why should they know about this drawing panel? That is unnecessary coupling. And also, when in a button or an event, you should be processing certain things, not deal with totally foreign stuff. So it is not an acceptable solution at all. So how do I make this work? I don't know. Maybe one way might be to say it is not the enter key that is going to be the event. That is not going to generate the event. Maybe I can have the have function key F1 do the thing. It is unfortunate that the systems don't behave uniformly, but I have no idea how it can be done in a understandable way as well as a clean way without changing the functionality of the system. Okay, questions? So actually, if you look at the Java documentation, there is a method called get focus or request focus, not get focus, request focus. And I don't know how reliable that is. For if you request focus, for how long is it valid? I have no idea.
Professor, I just checked it and I was able to do like control and then enter and it was able to work.
Oh, that's
for
it.
Windows.
Thank you. Control enter worked.
Yeah, I don't know if it works for everyone, but I just tested.
I mean, I will also try it out. If some others can also try it out, I would appreciate it. It is totally mysterious to me why different systems would. I mean, of course, they have the right to implement their software in whatever they wish, right? So I can't complain, I suppose. Okay, thank you, G. Yeah, I will try it out on a Windows machine soon. Control enter, yeah. With control, with enter alone, it was going to the buttons on my machine. Okay, the last thing that I want to do, or the third thing that I want to do tonight is show you some details of the code, basically the structure and some of the lines of code that you need to kind of be aware of, or the packages that you need to be aware of, because you will have questions on it in your third exam. So it is important that you know. What I want to do is show you where you have to modify things to add a new shape. That is going to be one of the best ways to understand this rather complicated program. So let's take a look at that. Okay. Here is the program. On the left pane, we have the multiple packages and sub packages. So we have the model, view, controller, and GUI. So suppose you want to add a new shape. Let's say you want to draw a triangle, and you don't want to depend on any other shape that is already here. So you don't want to say, okay, I will use the polygon to, and then do something with, do some shortcuts, or maybe long cuts, I don't know, using the polygon class to go ahead and make it also draw triangles or something. That is not acceptable. We want to have a triangle independent of polygons and lines and labels and everything else. Suppose I want that, then there are specific places that you need to focus on. The first thing is, if you want to have a polygon, a triangle, then you need a button, because you want to be consistent with the rest of the functionality. A polygon is drawn by pressing a button first, right? So when you want to add a triangle, you need to have a button class here. That is the first thing. So you can take one of these other shapes, and then take its button, copy, and make some simple modifications. So instead of polygon button, you would call it triangle button, right? But then you can see that this polygon button is creating or getting an instance of a create polygon event. So you need a corresponding create triangle event. So you need something here in the events class. So you have create polygon event. So copy and paste it and make it create triangle event. So you need a button, you need an event. Then if you look at the controller.java interface, it has a handle event method for almost every event. So you need to add one event for handling those requests. So that is the triangle drawing request. So you need to look, actually these things shouldn't be here anymore. FX view event and swing view event, they are not handled. I can get rid of these. They shouldn't create an error now. Yeah, then so you need to copy and paste one of these methods. So you like create line event, copy and paste it and make it create triangle event, which means you need to add a method. Now, actually, the Java compiler will tell you what the issues are. You will have to go to the states and then add a new state. Actually, I have a. So I have this method here, which I'm going to. So you need a new method here, something like this: create polygon event. You'll have a create triangle event and current state dot handle event. The moment you add that, you will get a syntax error because this state or this class doesn't have a handle event for create triangle. So you need to add one over here. I think that will probably end the chain of errors, but you know that we have one state for each of the shapes, right? So we have polygon drawing state. So you could copy and paste this and call it triangle drawing state, and then modify this to handle triangles. Do you need any other events to be handled? No, point input event is all you need. You can get rid of the confirm event because for every triangle you only have three sides. So you don't have to worry about there being a confirm event. But then you also know that you will be creating a command object here. So you need a corresponding command object for triangle. So you need to go to the command package or commands package and create a new command such as a triangle command. And you need to create a triangle object, which means you need a shapes. You need to add a class to the shapes package. So you need something like public class shape, sorry, triangle extends shape, blah, blah, blah. And that would be, I think, the last class that you need. And that'll be it. So it is very well defined. You don't have to touch the model. You don't have to touch the view, none of that. It is very systematic. The process for adding a new shape is extremely well defined because of the way the system is designed. It is so decoupled, the various parts, and so cohesive that it is very easy to add more and more shapes. The rest of the system would simply accommodate them. Undo, redo, view, everything would work out, except when you add a totally new shape, kind of like, I mean, really drastic change. For example, if you want to add an image, you will have trouble with rendering it. So at that point, you will need to add a new method here to render an image. There is all these things only draw lines and pixels and text. So if you want to add something like an image or even a piece of text with different fonts, then you need to worry about the renderer interface and implement those things. But I'm not going to go there for your exam, okay? You will not have to go and touch these kinds of things. Questions? Okay. Yeah, Rose had asked a question. I think escape would probably work. Um, we, because I think it is taking that enter key to be the equivalent of clicking a button, right? In many systems, you can press the enter key and then it is for a button click. I think that is the reason. I'm not entirely sure about escape. Okay. If you don't have any more questions, I'm going to stop recording now.